some off the pod gear. Enjoy some great alerts. We'll have a grand old time here watching Epic Realms tonight. We love it when we come here. We clip all of the screens. The chat gets kind of trolly on Epic Realms scenes. But that's an awesome part of the Epic family. So let's enjoy the show now and start another hype train. We'll see the spicy chips fly on the most sensational, inspirational, celebrational, epicational. This is what we call the Epic Show.
Hello, friends and enemies, heroes and villains. Welcome to Epic Realms Presents Off the Pod. It's not a podcast. It's sort of a podcast, but not really a podcast, kind of podcast show. Welcome on in, everybody. Thank you for being here. I appreciate every single one of you. And that's the intro. That's actually the intro. It's not a podcast, sort of podcast, kind of a podcast, sort of podcast, but not really in that exact order. My guest today is the one and only Laszlo. How are you doing?
Doing good, buddy. How are you, man?
Good. It's been a while since we've seen each other. For those that don't know, those watching the show, I know Laszlo from the Minnesota Renaissance Festival, the Sioux Falls Renaissance Festival, Renaissance festivals all over the place. And, you know, we got to know each other, not immediately, and at least as far as my memory serves, like my first year or two, I didn't really know you. I think the first time you and I actually kind of sat down and was like, hey, we know each other. And then it was like nothing. It was just like we always had known each other, was at, I think, Sioux Falls. It was like behind the scenes after day one. It was like you and me and Erin, belly down. I'm not going to say last name, but she's belly down. It was just the three of us just sitting around bullshitting, having a couple drinks. And after that, it was just like every time we saw each other, it was like, hey, how's it going? And and so, I wanted to get you on the show. I knew it would be a lot of fun. It'd be great to catch up. So it's like, let's kill 30 birds with one stone. And here you are.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's one of those, with a lot of friends that I have that I've known forever, I don't know how we met, or it's like, we've just known each other. It's, that kind of thing. So
I think when it comes to festival, like you see people and like you know them, right? It's like, oh yeah, I've seen them before. I've seen them do things out there, but you don't really, you don't sit down and chat. But then after a lot of time, like you've seen them, they seeing you. Eventually, you're friends on Facebook, and next thing you know, like you just have a conversation with everyone. It's like, yeah, we've known each other forever. Have we really had a conversation? Sit down? I don't know. I know you and I have a handful of times, but just in general, that's kind of a thing that's out there. So for the audience watching, Laszlo does all kinds of things, whether it's puppeteering, whether it's announcing for, wrestling, or probably one of the most well-known, the Feast of Fantasy, right?
Yeah.
Is there anything else, like other things that you do outside of that that's just like, more into that?
I think that takes up enough of my time. I have my son Max, who graduated high school in 2022. He's now he's going to be a junior at MCAD, and so keeping that afloat and keeping him going, it's another. Kids are a full-time job, and no matter what age they are, you're always trying to take care of them and be a part of their lives, and so that and find that balance between the work and the life and the family and all that, just to find that happy medium. So I think festival wrestling, puppeteering not so much anymore. We can talk about that later, but wrestling is starting to pick up a lot more, and doing Feast of Fantasy since 1999, so coming up on 25 years.
Yeah.
Which it's a blast.
Right.
Still loving it.
Well, let's get started with that. Let's talk about that, shall we?
Sure.
How because I've always been curious. Was Feast of Fantasy a thing before you got there, and then did you get like put into it, shoved in? Like where how did that really take place? Explain to the people what Feast of Fantasy is before all that, because some people might not know. Oh, sure. Yeah. It's different. Every festival has something similar. So this way they get an idea of what we're talking about.
Right. And I run into people because my wife works out there. She's one of the court revelers, and we'll run into people, and it eventually somehow comes up. Festival will come out, and they'll say, "Oh, what, you work at the Renaissance? What do you do?" And my first question is, have you ever been there? And if they go, well, yeah, I go there all the time. I said, oh, well, I do the Feast of Fantasy. And I explain that. If they go, no, I've never been, I just go, I sell pickles.
And if you
It's
know,
just
you know.
it's just easier that way. Yeah, I sell pickles. I think I told one person I was the king, which is like, really? Oh yeah, you should come out. Um, Make John happy. But no, the Feast of Fantasy, for those that have never been, it's a 2 hour show. It's a variety show with a 6 course gourmet meal that we have a separate kitchen that we there's the old food you can only get there.
Mm-hmm.
We bring in variety acts like Court Revelers. Like I said, it's a 16 ensemble singing group. They're fantastic. We bring in belly dancers. We bring in musical acts like Four Pine Shy, the Dregs, anybody who wants to play.
Yeah.
And we, pepper that in between we have the entrees, 2 entrees, dessert, appetizers. And when the thing first started, and it was already going before I'm kind of like second or third person to do to host it. When the show first started, that thing it was nonstop alcohol. It was just nonstop, and the goblets were about the size of fish bowls, and it was pandemonium just broke out because there was no
Right.
rules or regulations or
and pandemonium broke out. If you compare that to now, where pandemonium still breaks out.
Yeah, it's a somewhat less drunk pandemonium, I guess.
Somewhat, just a little bit.
Yeah. So I actually worked out at the Renaissance in like 89, 90, 91. And I just worked at the front gate tearing tickets.
Okay.
And it was one of those. I went there when I was 18, and fell in love with it. Happened to talk to somebody on cast and say, "Hey, how do we be a part of this?" Well, you have to go through auditions, you have to go through academy, and there was this whole big deal.
Yeah.
So like, well, we can do that. We're 18, 19, we got tons of energy. So we did the academy and the training, and Gary Parker, who was still out there, was the trainer for all that and ran all the classes. And they were held at McAllister over in St. Paul. And then we got thrown into the festival. And I worked there a couple 3 years and went, yeah, this is fun. And then life got in the way and I stepped away from it. And I didn't come back until 99 when it was a little bit of changing of the guards with the Feastmasters at the time. And they brought another fella in and myself, and then we did it. And then the following year, that guy left, and I stuck around. And then Jim Cunningham, who's my current partner, he came back, and we've been together ever since.
Yeah.
And it's just been a riot.
Did you do other improv type work outside of Renaissance Festival, or comedy,
Not really,
or acting, or any of that kind of stuff outside of Fest?
No, I grew up. I spent a lot of my college time down in Mankato, and I was a DJ for several nightclubs down there. If anybody knows the Mankato area, I DJ'd at a club called the Albatross and TJ Finnegan's and the Metlers. But TJ Finnegan's would have every Sunday night was Scott Hansen's Comedy Gallery. So Scott Hansen was a pretty famous Minnesota stand-up comic, since passed away. But every Sunday night, he would send down 4 or 5 comics, and myself and another friend, or another DJ friend of mine, we would get up and MC, and that kind of opened up the gate to we would start doing a little bit of stand-up and kill 5 minutes and bring in the headliner.
Yeah.
So, but just being, I think the experience of working in the bar industry,
and being around all those people, just being with them,
right, right, and you have and this, you work in a bar situation, and you've got every type of personality coming at you, and you learn how to play with people.
Yeah,
and it's just a lot of
fun.
And
how to read the crowd, right? Because every night it's going to be a different group of people, and you have to know whether one thing's going to be funny with one group and not funny with the next group, right?
Right. And that still holds true today with the Feast. It holds So the feast holds about 80 people, and myself and I said my partner Jim Cunningham, we're the hosts of it, kind of like the Johnny Carsons of the show, and
Yeah,
we
yeah,
come out, do a little introduction. Hey, welcome to the Feast of Fantasy, blah blah blah. Here's the first course, and now here's the belly dancers, and now here's the singers. So, but working with 80 people, and it's literally theater in the round.
yeah,
And you look around and you see, and I'm sure I've talked to a lot of people who are, comedians, who are actors, who are stage performers, anybody who's in front of an audience, look around and everybody's having fun except one person. And they're like this.
yep.
All you can think about is that one person. And now you're
What am I
so
doing wrong?
self-conscious.
Yeah, what do I got to do?
Oh God, I screwed up. What did I do? What did I say? Why aren't you having fun? Come on, we're dancing for you. Let's have. And there was one woman who had that, just dead look.
Yeah,
Nothing was hitting. And we're walking around in between acts and talking, schmoozing with the people, saying, "How you doing? You having fun?" And I walked up to her and said, "Are you having a good time?" She goes, "Oh yeah, this is the best time I've ever had in my life." Like, oh, would you tell your face? Because you're killing me here.
yeah, yeah. They
So,
just don't react the way other people do. Yeah,
yeah. So a lot I have to keep in mind that, it's sometimes not us. They're just enjoying it, or like they're watching TV.
yeah,
It's like, oh, I'm just gonna sit back and watch.
yeah. That's
So
true, and that's something people don't always think about. Like, yeah, maybe they don't have the facial expressions, but they really are just best time ever. You wouldn't know it, but
right,
they know it, and
right,
that's all that matters. So,
exactly.
so
So
yeah,
yeah,
awesome. I was there every once in a while when because I would take my breaks. I would try and take my breaks when there were shows for two reasons. For those that don't know, I worked in the street. I did street performance, entertaining the people that are just mingling about and just kind of trying to keep up the lively atmosphere of the festival outside of staged acts and shows like that. And I learned that very oftentimes, if I'm in a location right before a show and right after a show, that's great. Sometimes during
hmm
the show, not so much because everybody's at the show. So
right,
sometimes I don't have things to do in that area. And I have two options. I can move somewhere else where there's a lot of people, or I can,
hmm
every once in a while, and I did it very rarely, but it was like once a day, I would take time to take a break and sit down and eat. And
yeah,
there were only two places I ever did that. It was behind the bakery stage where Danger Committee
oh yeah,
and whoever was there. It would be back there because that's kind of where they told us at the beginning. Hello, Purpley, welcome on in. Hello, hello. They kind of when we first started, it's like everybody that's new, this is where you are. Don't go more than 30 feet from there. The entertainment director at the time was like, all of the newbies had to stay right by the bakery stage, essentially,
sure,
except for three people. There were three people that were allowed to go beyond: Brad Scarp,
all right,
Tanya Page, who's now in the Mermaid
yeah,
Cove, and
yeah, I
myself.
know.
We were the ones
Okay,
that Carr said, I trust you guys. You guys can go out and do other things.
nice,
On opening, our first time. And I was like, that was kind of cool. And so, yes, my breaks I took there, but then eventually, a couple people were like, well, you can take your breaks upstairs at the feast. As long as it's the people aren't using it or they're not needing it, usually
right,
like showtime, not a big deal. So then I would start to take my food and bring it up there, because then I felt like, without being like, because I never like stepped in to be part of it, but to me, if there were a couple performers upstairs having food, it was like there was a balcony audience as well
right,
participating.
right,
And I thought it added, and in my mind, I thought it added to the ambiance of the show. So I got to see a couple of them from up there while
nice,
I was parts of them. I didn't say for the whole thing, so I didn't have time for that,
right,
but yeah, so it's a lot
awesome,
of a lot of fun.
awesome. Yeah, it truly is. It's 2 hours, and we do three shows on Saturday. We do two on Sunday, rain or shine, snow sometimes. But it's exhausting, but it's a good fun exhausting.
Yeah, for sure. And then you also started hosting the smoker, right?
Yeah. So and
That's a little
that
bit.
was
Would you say that's a little bit more adult or a little bit less adult?
boy oh boy. That's a great question, because it's unlike the feast, where the feast is contained in the Bad Manor, which is the building. We were kind of like Vegas. What happens here stays here.
Yeah.
The
It's
smoker
got walls.
was yeah, it has walls. The smoker, there are no walls. It's wide open. Anybody can walk by, and it's kind of like it's just a free for all. And it's a smaller audience, um, but still that intensity of they want to be there. And sometimes it would be the smoker was like the show where they would serve at the time it was beer, you get a cigar, get some chicken wings, just like a happy hour kind of thing.
Yeah.
And many times I would do pull double duty where we'd do a feast and then I'd run over and host the smoker. So we would have that following of sometimes
people follow you
2
right
hours
there.
of drinking. Yeah. Like the Pied Piper. Come on, follow me. Let's go out here. But the smoker, I think sometimes got a little bit more out of hand than the feast. And it was just hilarious because you have no idea where it's going to go. There's no agenda. There's really no time limit. So you can really screw around as much as you want. And
yeah. How much do you know? Like, I know for the feast, you kind of know who's going to be showing up, right?
Yeah.
But I got the feeling that sometimes you didn't know who was going to show up for the smoker.
Right. And it was one of those, in the beginning, it was so new that you really had to coordinate with the other acts. If they had like Johnny Phoenix and we'd ask him to come over, it's like, yeah, I can, but I got to do a show at this time and this time. I can come over for 10 minutes. Perfect. So, or Zilch or Seamus would come in, or if we'd see the King walk by, we'd try to pull him in real quick.
Yeah.
And have to do some improv with us. But it was just sort of you never know what you're going to get, folks. Let's just see who's around. So it was just a blast, and it was crazy chaotic.
How much do you plan ahead? Like, okay, you don't know because a lot of improv is you have ideas always kind of floating there to use in certain circumstances, and you're just waiting to use them for the right circumstances. But then you get so much sitting there. And then how much is it just like, just put it in neutral and, it's really easy going. Does it matter? Is it just dependent on the day?
It kind of depends on the show. We have, like for the feast, we have a set opener that we do. But no two shows are ever the same. And you have in the back of your head a file cabinet of one-liners and topics. And, if we'll do crowd work in the beginning, that can be a lot of fun. And just kind of, hey, we really try to bring in the audience to our show and involve them. And it's their show as much our show.
Mm-hmm.
So just to have them involved and go, wow, I got to play and be a part of it. And we start the show with, a little bit of a sketch here and there, and then we'll do toasts and we'll open it up to the audience. Hey, do you have a toast for the, and some of the toasts that we get, we just go, oh my God, how you can't say those words.
Right.
And just, we would have,
you can't say those words. I'm writing that down for next time.
that would be it too. A lot of times somebody would say something and Jim or myself would grab a pen and a thing, write that down.
Which makes it more funny when you do that, right?
Oh yeah, and really make them involved in it. So we do have, like I said, somebody once said it's the greatest show never written. So it's like, that's somewhat true, but it's a lot of just listening and seeing what the audience is going on, and like I said, bringing them involved. I was talking about toasts, and it was during the pandemic. The festival was closed, but we still did a feast outside. It was a lot of fun, and we said, all right, who has a toast? And this guy stands up, and he's dressed to the nines. He has a beautiful woman sitting next to him. He stands up with his goblet, and he goes, I'd like to propose a toast. And he goes on and on and on about the love of his life and how without this love, he wouldn't be where he is today. And the toast was for his 1994 Jaguar. And it was Jim and I looked at him like a dog being shown a card trick, just like. And the woman next to him, she was getting, blushing and, feeling very loved. And then when he said what he was toasting to, she just kind of went,
Okay, so here's the question: was he doing it to be funny, or was he dead
that was the
serious?
best part. He was dead serious. And I want to say it was it was either a 94 or 96 Jaguar. And I don't know much about those years, but apparently the year that he bought his Jaguar is like the one that is most cherished in that era. I don't know.
Wow.
So and he just saved his money, and he was really excited, and he must have just got. He goes, yes, and I came here with the love of my life, my 1994 Jaguar, and it was like 80, 90 people dead silent.
Oh
And we
man.
looked at, and I think I said, is this a bit? Or are you serious? No, and he pulls out a picture of it on his phone and like, okay. So
I could
he
see
kind
that
of,
being played. I could see that
oh,
being played in order to be funny. I could see it, but it's in the delivery, I guess.
yeah. And we're going, now while he's telling this, you know, as an entertainer and a comic, you're going, okay, how do I make this funny? What can I, you're waiting for him to finish so you can get to the next thing. And he finished and I said, so you're just gonna, let me guess, you're driving home alone tonight, and and turned to his date, and how are you getting home tonight? And I think she just went, oh, I'll find a way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
She was
There's a whole
not.
audience right there of people that'd be willing.
They all knew that was the end of the relationship right
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
But
Wow.
and that happened, 2020, and it still sticks into my head of like, oh my gosh, that's bananas.
Wow.
But yeah.
So did you then just get invited to do similar stuff at other festivals later, or was it just like you're like, hey, I want to do this at your festival and do something similar? Kind of how did some of those come about?
The only ones I ever did was Arizona
Okay.
and Sioux Falls. And Arizona, um, I'm blanking on the owner's name. I don't know if you remember him or not.
Never been to Arizona. I pretty much stayed in the
Okay,
upper
it's
Midwest
a
myself.
beautiful, yeah, it's a beautiful site. It's completely flat. If it rains, they close it down because the water doesn't go anywhere. But the entertainment director, the owner, I should say, not the owner, came he used to be part owner of the Minnesota show,
Okay.
so he was very familiar with it. And he came to Jim and I said, I really want. This was in 2003,
Okay.
and he goes, for the 2004 season, I want to do a Feast of Fantasy. I want to do my own version of a Feast of Fantasy down there, and I want you guys to come down and kind of work it. And he built a beautiful feast hall. It's just like the one in Minnesota, but it's bigger,
Okay.
and the floors instead of wood are like stone floors.
Oh wow.
So it's very clean. It's a beautiful hall.
Nice.
And we went down there and did the opening weekend, which was great because we had a handful of people that travel from festival to festival. And there was a bunch from Minnesota who came down, know us in Minnesota, came down to Arizona. But then you have a lot of people that go, I have no idea what this is. And so you're kind of starting fresh
Yeah.
and
You don't
realizing
have
that the
that
jokes,
established after years and years of it
yeah,
being a established show.
exactly. And so the jokes that we would do in Minnesota sometimes didn't land. I'm like, okay, now we need to know. Okay, let's find out more about Arizona culture. What's the cultural references,
Yeah.
and worked around that. So I did a couple weekends there. That was I think they run in February, and it was 2004. And that was the year my son was born. So I said, I can come down and work a couple of weekends, but I got to stay home. I got a newborn at home.
Yeah.
And so Jim stayed, and I think he worked there 6 or 7 years. And
That's our timer.
what's a timer?
That's our timer. That's all right.
Time for what?
Timer
Time,
up. Timer up.
timer up. So I said I can't come back, but we brought in Rook, who, if you remember him or not, well known in Minnesota. Rook is a genius. That's all I'm going to say. He would come up with characters that were just brilliant. And he could have done one character, had a career with it. He did one where he was the misfortune teller. He built a booth and told misfortunes. He did a leprechaun. He did one of my favorite characters. He did a lost and found in the privy, where he set up a table outside the privs, which are the porta potties.
Yeah, yeah.
And he had a table, and his arm was blue from because that was the color of the water.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And he had a table with items that he had found in the priv. And that was it. That was it. But I think he would do a character, reach its peak, he'd get bored with it and do something else.
Yeah.
And now he's doing a character called Skidmark in Arizona, TRF, a bunch of festivals.
Okay.
Which is sort of like a beggar with a bunch of junk around him, and he plays accordion and talks or does crowd work, and it's just brilliant. But they brought Rook in, and so Rook was my clone at Arizona, and then he was Jim's partner for a number of years, and then when Jim left, Rook took over as the head Feastmaster character, and he's still doing that now in Arizona. So yeah, but apart from that, I'd love to have time to do more of that and travel, but you get old,
right?
And life kind of gets in the way sometimes. So I'm at Minnesota is my home. It's been my home forever, and I just love it. The fans are fantastic.
Yeah,
we have just a blast.
We got Curly Girl says, I know a few people who love going to the Feast of Fantasy. It is a highlight of their trip.
Oh, thank you. For sure. She's probably drunk a lot.
We got a Biscuit Cato. He's a great performer, but never lets his friends go to the show. Jerk.
That's my buddy Mike. Mike, if you're listening, your new nickname is Liver Mike.
Mike.
Yeah, I have to tell. So this is my buddy Mike, one of my best friends I've known since.
Because his liver's good because he doesn't get into the Feast of Fantasy. Is that what you're saying?
It is now. I've known Mike since, I think we were both I think he was 16, 17. I was 19, something like that. I've known him longer than I haven't known him. And he became we're dear friends and DJ'd together and all this and that. And a couple of years ago, I want to say, Mike had to have a liver transplant. And he's doing fantastic. But and this is the first time I've ever experienced, someone close to me going through that. He had to have a liver transplant, and they go to the testing, and then you get on a waiting list, and then they call you up and go, hey, we got a liver for you. So he'd get the news from the hospital and call me and go, hey, good news, I'm scheduled for surgery tomorrow. They got a liver. We're good to go. I went, great. God bless you. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And then something would happen, the donor didn't die in time, and there's really no good way around any of this. Yeah. Or the liver, something didn't work out. And this happened, I want to say 3 or 4 times, where it was set up, no. And the first couple times it was yeah, okay, this is it. This is the one. We're good. You're good to go. I believe you in it. Nope, it fell through. By the 3rd or 4th one, the phone calls became, yeah, they have a liver. I don't know. We'll see. All right. Well, call me when it works.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, this was hilarious. That something Mike did. Every time he was, I guess the liver was rejected for some reason, he got a tattoo on his back of a liver with the Ghostbusters line. I want to say he has 3 of them now, 3 of those tattoos. That's and it's funny. Just freaking hilarious. And it's the first thing that the doctors and nurses want to see when he goes in for, checkup stuff. But he did get a liver, and everything went great. It's
good.
He's 100%.
Living
he's going to say
life.
He's doing fantastic. And
that's great.
So suck it, Mike.
He knows you're joking. He knows you're joking.
Right, yeah.
Kind of.
Yes.
Sort of. Well, our next topic is going to be, we're going to talk, we have multiple things kind of in common. And I didn't even know about
Yeah.
this next thing until after I was out of that part of the business, before I found out you were in that part of the business. And that's, you know, independent wrestling, professional wrestling, and work with
Yeah.
that. And it just happened to be, I'd see that you would post pictures of stuff, and I didn't realize that you were like actually ring announcing and doing work at festivals. And then there was one time, I don't know if it was a behind the scenes photo or if it was in the ring or something, and it was you and Mitch Paradise.
Yes.
And I was like, oh God, I know Mitch Paradise. He beat the snot out of me one time, or I don't remember exactly what I said. But then that opened the conversation because you didn't know I used to wrestle, and I didn't know you were working in the wrestling scene. And here's somebody that we both knew sitting up on the thing. It's like, holy cow. So tonight I was like, we got to talk wrestling, right?
Oh yeah. And when wrestling and Renaissance, they really go hand in hand.
They
It's
do.
one of those, when you talk to people, you know, the public, or you're at some function and they go, so what do you do? You really kind of go, boy, do I really want to tell them that I worked at a Renaissance? Do I really want to tell them that I announced for professional wrestling? Because like you're going to get one of two reactions, like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. And then you get a majority of them are like, oh, that's so cool. Tell me more about that.
Right.
But yeah, I've worked with Mitch since I started announcing wrestling, I want to say 14 years ago,
Okay.
for a company called Primetime
So that'd
Wrestling.
be about 2010 ish, right?
Possibly, maybe,
Okay.
over 10 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, probably about that. Primetime Wrestling, uh, down in Bloomington, and that's where I got to meet. And I grew up on watching wrestling.
So did they know you from Renaissance Festival then?
No, nobody knew who I was. So I came in fresh. But the promoter was Greg McDonald. He's now in, I want to say, Tennessee now. Great guy, but he was a local actor up here, and also an athlete and a wrestling fan, and decided to put all three together and do some independent wrestling shows. So it was just, I walked into it, and like I said, I grew up on that stuff, where, you know, Sunday morning was AWA, when
Yeah.
when Hulk Hogan first hit Vern
Yeah. The
Gagne.
Gagnes and Baron
Yeah,
von Raschke and
yeah, yeah.
the
He's a
Long
riot.
Riders and yeah, all of them.
Yeah, so that became, wrestling was our church after church, and so falling into this, it was like, oh, it was great. I get to be in the ring, but I don't get beat up.
Right.
So I know my limits.
And you don't have to
Uh,
do a lot of like running around like a ref or a, you know, anything like that either.
nope, nope. I get in, I say a few words, and I get out. And yeah, Mitch was one of the first guys that I met, who's just a sweetheart of a guy, but terrifyingly huge.
Yeah.
And I'm a little guy, so I'm standing in the ring, and Mitch is just towering over me,
Bristling with
and being,
muscles and
yeah, muscles on his muscles.
right.
And at the time, he had just longer hair, and the bandana, like the, Guns N' Roses bandana, Axl Rose looking, and then eventually moved into the mohawk, which he has now, which, again, both pretty intimidating.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was tag team with a guy, Billy Blaze, who equally terrifying, but equally just as sweet.
Yeah.
And those two they ended up doing a talk show in the ring called Shut Your Mouth. And they're pitching these ideas, and I'm going, I love it. Let's see what happens. And I go, so what's the premise? He says, well, Billy and I get in the ring, and we bring in a chair, and we interview these people, but we don't ever let them talk. We just tell them to shut their mouth. And sometimes we'll bring kids in, and maybe we'll threaten to spank the kids because they were heels.
Yeah.
And in the wrestling world, heel is the bad guy.
Bad guy.
And so that was the intermission show, and the people hated him, but they loved him at the
And
same
I'm assuming
time.
they had to wrestle later on in the night because you
Mhm.
build the heat and then you pay it off in the match later.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So like, something would happen, then they get the good guys would come in and kick him out of the ring, and like, "Well, we'll face you at the main event," and
Yeah.
setting up a next match. So
I'm really curious because you mentioned like you didn't have anything, and usually it's such a you have to know somebody to know somebody for a spot like
yeah,
that. How like was there auditions or did they just like there's
no.
somebody in the crowd, you come up and ring announce?
Well, a friend of mine, David Walbridge, uh, got the first did the first show for them. And he calls me up and says, "I've got the greatest gig in the world." And what? I'm announcing for professional wrestling. And I went, "Oh my God." Well, I said, "If you ever can't do it, please let me know." And at the time, Dave was like he did corporate shows, magic and juggling and
Yeah,
kid
yeah, okay.
shows. And so he's busy, busy, busy. And he did one show, and then it was in September, and then October came around. I remember this for a Halloween show. He calls me and says, "I can't do the show. Can you fill in?" And I went, "Yeah, absolutely. What's the number? Who do I call? Who's the promoter?" He says, "I don't have it. It's on Craigslist." So I'm like, "No, seriously, what's the?" He goes, "No, no. You have to go to Craigslist and type in professional wrestler or wrestling announcer or something. It'll pop up. There's Greg's number." So I go to
So they had like a
Craigslist.
Craigslist ad looking for an announcer.
Yeah, that's where it worked. And
Wow.
I called him. I was actually at the time I was doing
And hello,
we
Miso
were
Thorny, welcome in to the show.
we were doing we were filming a commercial for Best Buy, and I took a break in between shoots, and I called Greg from the Craigslist, and I said, "Yeah, hi, my name's Laszlo. I got your number off Craigslist. I'm a friend of Dave's. He says he can't do the next show." I said, "I would love to do it if I could." And he went, "Well, yeah, I guess so." I guess, "What's your experience?" I said, "Well, I grew up on this. I love this. This is, I know the ins and outs of I know how this works." So I went in, and it was one of those. All right, I got the card, and if this in the wrestling industry, card is subject to change.
Yeah.
It was like, here's the card. The card is who's the wrestlers who are wrestling. That's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
lineup. And so I get the card, and I'm all ready to go. 15 minutes before the show, he goes, "Oh, so and so canceled. We have to swap the matches." So I'm frantically panicking, and I've got a piece of paper, and I'm scribbling everything. In my first show, it went fine, but it was one of those, I'm okay, and now make sure I'm not screwing it up and
Yeah.
screwing up anybody's names.
Oh,
And
it's
it was,
I got a funny story for you about screwing up names after that.
I'll tell you mine, you tell me yours. So I do a couple shows, and one of the wrestler by the name of Arya Davari, who has a brother, Sean Davari, who used to wrestle in WWE. And great, again, everybody in the wrestling business is fantastic. We all have to get along. We know the job. We know what we're doing. We're
Yeah.
there to put on a show, and everybody's just very, very nice. Um, and I'm getting there, and I'm brand new, so I'm really trying to schmooze and suck up to the wrestlers and go, "Hey,
Yeah.
I'm okay." And I walk up to him, and I'm like getting all the information. I said, "All right, hey, I'm Laszlo. Don't mean to interrupt. I'm announcing. Hey, I need your stats. I need your weight and location. And if there's anything else you want me to say for the announcement, just let me know." And called, someone had mentioned Sean Davari. They were talking about Sean Davari. And I went, "Oh, okay. So Ari must be his wrestling name. Clearly, Sean is his real name." Not the case. And I get in the ring, and I go, "Ladies and gentlemen, from Tehran, Iran, weighing in at 195 pounds, Sean Davari." And he comes in. His gimmick is the Sheik, and he's just looking at me like, "Is this guy? Is he effing with me right now?" I'm dead serious, trying to do a really good job. And we get done with the match, and get done with the show. And Greg, the promoter, comes up and he goes, "So are you gonna go apologize to Davari?" I went, "For what? What happened?" So, "Well, you called him Sean." I go, "That's not his name." He goes, "No, his brother's name is Sean. His name is Ari." I'm like, "Oh my God. Okay, okay, I'll go fix it." And I go backstage, and he's there. And I went, hey man, I am so sorry. I thought you were. I didn't know. I didn't realize you had a brother named Sean. He goes, no, it happens all the time. He goes, I get compared to Sean all the time. So I thought you were just messing with me. And I'm like, oh, because the last thing I want is her, because
Yeah,
he's a guy,
yeah, he's
man's man.
yeah,
And I just didn't want him to throw me out of the ring and hit me with a chair or whatever. So I was like, this is on me. I am so sorry, but I went and he took it very well, and but then I ran into his brother Sean at a wrestling training camp, and I went, I have to tell you this story, and I told him the story. He's crying. He goes, "Oh my God, that's the best thing I've ever heard in my life." I go, please don't ever bring this up again. It's just I don't. He apparently Ari's was a little bit sensitive about being mixed up, and rightfully so.
yeah.
But it's one of those. All right, I'm going to double check my notes every single time, make sure I don't ever do this again. So
I did a show up north up on the Iron Range area of Minnesota, and the promoter's uncle like actually worked for WWE and stuff, but the guy Tom, he's kind of he's a unique individual, we'll say, and
okay,
and he so he tells his like he's kind of running it, but it's like he's not really running it because as soon as his I think it's his uncle shows up, like his uncle ends up taking over and is just like running the show, and he's just like kind of kowtows to his uncle, even though it's his show and it's his money, he's putting it together. His uncle is whatever. Yeah. And so like I'm doing this like kind of pseudo goth character, the fishnet kind of Hardy Boy Jenko, long hair down to here sort of thing, and I went by the name of the Dark Wolf.
Okay.
And I'd been doing it for them. This is like my 5th show for them, and Tom keeps bringing me back in and everything, and that's just been what it was. And so I was like, I hate that name. What's your name? And so I told him what my real. He's like, what's your real name? So I told him what my real name is, Nick Sampson, right? Yeah. And he's like, oh, and that's all it was. It's like, as far as I knew, I was still that. And then the ring announcer announced me as Nick Samuels.
Oh God.
And I'm like, how the fuck does that even fit? Like, that doesn't even make sense. Like, it wasn't even the name I gave him as my name. It doesn't, like, how does that fit the look in any way, shape, or form? It's like, what the? And I'm supposed to have 2 matches, right? I'm supposed to have this one-on-one, then later it goes, it gets interrupted and it goes into a tag team at the end of the show. Mm-hmm. And the only thing he doesn't say, he comes up to me, because he wanted me to throw punches, and like, I don't throw good punches. I never have. He's like,
right.
He's like, your punches suck, ass kid. I was like, I told you I'm not really good at throwing punches. I do some other stuff. He's like, well, you better impress me in the next one, or you're never coming back. Like,
oh no.
He's like, I don't care who you were trained by. I'll call Bill and tell him never to talk to you again. It's like, and so in the next match, is like knife edge chops, because I was actually pretty good at those because I got that hammered into me early on, and so I could make them not hurt a ton but sound amazing. Right. And I was like, chops any better than my punches? He's like, we'll have you come back.
Okay, good.
And I came back later and I was Dark Wolf again.
Dark Wolf. Nice.
Later on. But yeah, it was just a funny as hell interaction. I can't remember for the life of me who he was known as off the top of my head when he worked for WWE and stuff. WWF back then, because he was like a 70s 80s guy. So
man, yeah, those chops, man, those suck, straight up suck. And you mentioned Mitch Paradise earlier on.
He lit me up a couple of times.
For those that don't know, Mitch is probably 6'7", 6'6", 6'7", maybe more, and his hands, okay, normal hand, Mitch's
right.
And I'd be in the back of the room watching the show, and Mitch would chop somebody, and it would just echo through the auditorium.
Yeah.
And he just, when all of us backstage are going, oh, God. Oh, and the red marks on the chest and everything, just brutal. So, no,
we did
those suck.
There was a battle royal, and Mitch is like, he chopped me a couple times, and he's like, fire back. I'm like, it doesn't make sense for me to fire back. Like, I can try, but like, I'm not going to throw chops at you, because it doesn't
Right.
look like it makes sense for me to fire back
Mhm.
in the corner. I was like, no. I was just like, no, that doesn't make sense. He's like, good call. And he was testing me. Like, he knew that was
Oh,
the right
nice.
call, but he was just testing me. And I was like,
Yep.
he's like, good call, good call.
Yeah. No, he knows the business.
Yeah, he certainly does. He was great. And then he threw me out. And then he threw me over the top.
Sure.
So somebody in chat wants to know if you're excited for SummerSlam coming to Minnesota.
I am. Yeah, that's huge.
It is.
I know they were talking about having WrestleMania, but I think Vegas got WrestleMania, but SummerSlam we'll take it.
I don't want to say that I know somebody that knows somebody that's close to it, but I guess the Uber situation had a little bit to do with the situation.
Oh,
Not a lot,
okay.
not a lot, but it was a factor that came into light during the situation. So, but
Well,
hey, I'll take,
good enough.
if my consolation prize is getting SummerSlam, I'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Minnesota has not had a good pay-per-view in a very long time. It's like, oh, Elimination Chamber and Fully Loaded, and all of the
Right.
not even the B string or C string shows. It's like the worst of the pay-per-views we always get in the
Right.
place that's
No.
the home of the AWA, for crying out loud.
Right. Throw us a bone.
Yeah,
But no, SummerSlam, we're looking forward to that. That's
Yeah.
gonna be awesome.
for sure. Where are some of your favorite places, like types of venues? Do you like the VFW type places, or do you like other type of venues instead?
Uh it's the crowd it doesn't matter where it's at. We've done outside shows.
It wasn't a
We've done-
test, but good answer. Good answer. If this were Family Feud, you probably get bling number one.
Top 10 answers on the board.
Yeah.
We just did a show for Northern Lights Wrestling, and they're out of St. Paul at Arcadia VFW on Arcadia Street, Arcadia Avenue. And this is the second time we were there. The first, like last month, we were there, and they had us in the big ballroom. Great. The only problem was the ceilings were low, and the ring that we used, a normal ring was about 3 feet off the ground or
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah.
This one was maybe 18 inches off the ground, because the ceiling was so low, nobody could do any high flying moves. But the cool thing
18
was, and this
inches. Okay.
yeah.
No, but I'm picturing the mechanics of how the rings work.
Yeah. And standing in the ring, I mean, if I could stand in the ring and take my microphone and go like that, and I could touch the ceiling tile, which you have to just go. You get in the ring, and it's it's the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
So you just make it part of the show and go, wow, this should be interesting, folks. And the final match, and the great thing about this business is we've got so many new people coming in, and we train them right here in Minnesota. Ken Anderson, Mr. Anderson, has his own.
Yeah.
He's got his own training, the Academy, Wrestling Academy. Shout out to those guys.
Yeah. That's in Wisconsin, right?
No, that's right here in Minnesota.
Minnesota?
He's from Wisconsin.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's in Minneapolis or St. Paul. I don't know.
I thought him and Dylan had a school in Wisconsin as well. Dylan
They
Hornswoggle.
might have. Oh yeah, they might have, but I know that the Academy is here.
Okay.
He might have a couple of them, but they're bringing out some really talented people. And for this match, it was a title match, main event title match with wrestler's name is Shay Diesel, the professional scumbag Shay Diesel, and Shay is, oh God, probably, I don't know, 6'2", 6'3", just a monster.
Yeah, which is great.
And he's fighting a guy named Drew Dillon, who a little shorter, but Drew works or like ran a fitness center, so he's jacked. He's got 2% body fat.
Yeah.
And they're battling for the belt, and it's going back and forth. And Shay throws Dylan into the ropes, comes back, catches him, and throws him up into the ceiling.
Ceiling. I was waiting. I was like, that would be a cool, to have him take a bump upside down, essentially.
Yeah, he literally, yeah, a reverse bump on the ceiling tile, and tiles fall. The crowd goes bananas, and we're looking at it backstage, going, all right, how much are ceiling tiles at Menards? Because we're going to have to replace these. But thankfully, the people at the Legion were cool about it. They go, yeah, we kind of figured this would happen, so I said, we'll take care of it. So we did that show last month, and we are back again. That's going to be our new home is at that VFW. But for this show, there was something going on upstairs, so they put us downstairs in the basement, which is a converted bowling alley.
Yeah.
So it's long, but the ceilings are a little taller, not much. There's no ceiling tile. It's like the level popcorn ceiling.
Yeah.
So if you're hitting the ceiling on a bump, there's no give. But it was a smaller venue. This was last Friday, and it was probably about 40 people. So you're looking going, okay, well, you give it you we realize that they're here for a reason. So we're going to give them the best show they can. If it's one person or 100,000 people, we're going to give them the best show. And we had a lot of people that had no idea that it was a wrestling show. They just they saw the poster and went, well, this could be fun.
Yeah.
Came in, had a blast. We all had a great time. So each venue is different. It really depends. It depends on the audience. So we've had smaller shows that only hold 200 people and it packs them in. I work with another promoter called MIW, Minnesota Independent Wrestling,
Mm-hmm.
and our home there is the Chanhassen American Legion, just down the road from Paisley Park. And we do that once a month. We got a July show coming up that's going to be outside. And that holds about 200 and some. And the fans are loyal. They come and they want to see who they want to see. And we've got their favorites, and the audience just really makes it. We've had shows that have had 150 people, and they weren't really into it.
Yeah.
It was, we don't know what this is. We don't. It was the Minnesota polite. Do we yell? Do we?
Yeah,
do
it's
we
like
boo?
a Japanese show. They're sitting on their hands.
Yeah, exactly. Prove. I'm having it's that person.
I'm having fun. Yeah.
I'm having fun. I really enjoy your show. Okay. So, but yeah, it's truly the audience, and we try to get them involved, and we try to make it as family friendly as possible, because it's like with festival. If the kids want to go, they're gonna bring the parents.
Yeah.
So we make it fun for everybody and try to interact as much as possible. And but yeah, it's the venue doesn't really matter. It's you look at it, you go, all right, what stage am I on today? And
Yeah.
how can I make the best of it? And you look around going, okay, well, I got low ceilings and I got ceiling tile. That could be fun. We got some tables. Maybe we can, and it depends on who's running the venue.
Yeah.
If they're cool with us, smashing stuff.
Yeah. Can I dump the trash can upside down over someone's head or not?
So many times. Like, we dump the garbage can? I don't know. We'll pick it up. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Plastic ones are always
they're
the best because they have that little bounce. You don't put a dent in them.
right. Yeah, and at the Friday show where it was 40 some people, they had the merch tables, and it was the plastic tables.
Yeah, those just bend.
And there was a street fight outside the ring, and it was one of those, the guys got the wrestler like this, and he's turning to the audience and move, 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 and they get up out of their chairs and they throw the wrestler into the chairs.
Yeah, that's classic.
And then you're at the table, and this is where the improv comes in, because they know what they're going to do, but they don't know how they're going to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And they get to the table, and of course the audience goes, table, table. And so the wrestler in charge looks up and goes, table, table. And this one, he looked at the bartender and literally said, is that okay? And the bartender goes, yeah, go for it. So he picks up the guy, slams him into the plastic table, and it snaps.
Oh, nice.
We're like, I don't know how this is going to go. Wooden tables, yeah, I know how those are going to break, but I've never seen a plastic table break. And that thing just folded like a taco.
Nice.
Awesome. The crowd loves it, and of course that's what they remember.
Yeah, and there's something about, I know we're out of time for the topic, but there's something about the crowd at a live, like even if you have WWE coming, it's not a televised, it's a house show. It's always better. It's always better than a televised show. House shows, right. Independent shows, you're always going to have more fun than the televised shows. There's just something about the interactiveness with the with the people in the ring and the fans, the announcers, the ring announcers. For TV, it's like, okay, they got to match time cues and whatnot, and they have the big videos playing in between the stuff to promote whatever stuff, and they're showing the commercials to the audience. Yeah. An indie show, one match is done. Okay, we've got a couple minutes to kill. How can I fill as an entertainer? And some ring announcers, they just stand there. And I'm guessing, because I know you, that's not what you do. No, that's not what I would do.
No, I can't. I come out and you're absolutely right. The independent shows, the big shows in the stadiums, the WWE shows, the big productions, they're great. But for me, I like watching them on TV. I've gone to a bunch of them live, and like you said, it's a lot of sitting around and waiting, or they'll have one wrestler in the ring while they do a commercial on the screen, and that wrestler is just standing there.
Yeah.
And with the independent shows, you are literally 5 feet away from any wrestler. Yeah.
You're the audience. The TV isn't the audience.
Exactly. And so in between time, it's always like, hey, you having a great time tonight? Hey, I do crowd work in the beginning, and I walk around, I talk to everybody, and kind of get, it's Johnny's birthday, or we got an anniversary, or something like that. Kind of work it in. I would do just for fun, just to see how it worked. Go, hey everybody, welcome to Name of Wrestling Show here. Hey, glad you're here. Just want to let you know tonight is National Buy Your Ring Announcer a Drink Night. So just want to let you know it's a national holiday. Hallmark just named it. So buy your ring announcer a drink, and sometimes it works. Sometimes it works great, and sometimes it works too good.
Too good.
Yeah.
Okay, at the end of this, thank you for coming.
One more, slam it, drink the beer. You got to do the Stone Cold now. It's like, and you can't disappoint. That's what they want to see, because that's what they know.
Right.
But yeah, independent shows are so much fun because it's right there. It's nonstop. It's 2 hours of just go, 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 go.
Nice. We'll get some links for those of you watching live. We'll get some links to all of that here in a second during the break. Guys, I want to have you stick around for the break. Please stick around through the ads. It helps us. It helps keep new people that are coming into the show to not have to worry about ads immediately when they come in. They can kind of see what's going on and get entertained with the show immediately when they come in. So guys, please stick around through this. During the break, you'll get to see some clips about some of the other shows, the other interviews we've done, whether it's off the pod or the regular podcast. So thank you guys so much for being here. We're going to take a quick break. When we return, we're going to talk about the amazing puppet show you were part of called Transylvania Television. And we're going to start it off with a trailer for the show, so you guys can kind of get an idea of what we're talking about. So stick around, stay tuned, and get prepared for that. We'll see you in just a bit.
In a spooky castle in the Carpathians lives a motley band of misfit monsters, doing their best not to kill each other as they try to run their own television station.
Here we go.
Problem is, this station is powered by the infamous Frankenstein device. Invented by that notorious doctor decades before, it's capable of bringing new life to the station's catalog of horrible syndicated content. By all means, put in that videotape of Star Trek, but you're never quite sure what you're going to get on the other side. Station employees include Furry Ackermonster, the laid-back party yeti, his pal, the beatnik Batfink, the station's 60s-obsessed engineer, and his uptight boss, the vampire LeShock.
Oh, no, I'm sure I got it right.
Von Bucket is Furry's personal demon, literally. And don't forget idiot savant Dwayne Frankenstein, made from the parts of 13 people. Whether they're keeping the station's makeshift technology running or enjoying a draft at the Freaky Tiki, you'll be amazed and disturbed by the antics of the castle crew at Transylvania Television. Produced in Minneapolis, Minnesota, Transylvania Television, the retro monster comedy that's really not for kids, is the brainchild of Michael Hegel and Gordon Smuter. This labor of love series of 8 22-minute episodes and a Halloween special has already appeared on select broadcast television, cable, and streaming platforms, and has developed a lively, loyal, and continually growing group of internet fans that keeps the torch alight and rabidly are clamoring for more installments of this cult series. But in order for that to happen, the series needs to be taken to the next level. By partnering with an industry-recognized network, studio, or showrunner, and producing it with a sustainable budget, the show can be seen by millions more viewers who don't yet know it exists, and eventually see its full potential as an entertainment brand. Please contact us for more information.
Don't forget to tip your waitstaff.
I want the Freaky Tiki to be a real place. I want it to be local.
No kidding. That's the first time I've seen that trailer. That's fantastic. We had a lot of fun filming that one. Gordon Smuter, who's he built all the puppets and 90% of the props and all that stuff. And he loves the tiki bar scene, so we had to incorporate that. The Freaky Tiki.
Me too. I love tiki bars. I love tiki drinks. I'm drinking a tiki drink right now. That's what I've made for the show, is a tiki drink.
Oh, nice.
So funny enough, the Jungle Bird is what it is. So welcome on in, everybody. If you've been here the whole time, thank you for sticking around during the break. We appreciate it very, very much. If you're just getting in, or if you just came in during the break, we've had a great show. You definitely want to make sure to go back and watch the video on demand, either here on Twitch. It'll be also up on YouTube as well. You can go check it out there forever and ever and ever. We cover talking about Renaissance festivals. We both worked there. Laszlo still works there. Amazing performer and one of my favorite people out there. We also talked about independent wrestling, because Laszlo works as a ring announcer at independent wrestling shows. We have a lot of people that we both know from when I worked there. We have sounds like about a 3 to 5 year gap between when I was done and when you started. But there's still a lot of crossover. A lot of people still doing it to this day that I knew, and so many new people. And the thought of what it is and the feeling of it is it's the same. It's not changed. Independent wrestling is still amazing and still a lot of fun. If anything, it's bigger and better than it was, in the early 2000s. It's just grown. There are so many companies out there that are companies that are consistently doing doing consistent shows, instead of just, here's a one-off of a show that somebody ran at a place because this place wanted wrestling, and it's not a company, it's just a wrestling show. And here's the champion of whatever. It's just the champion, whatever. It's not a thing. It's not a company. So we talked a lot about that, and we'll probably maybe down the road do it again. So
I would love it. And that's the great thing too, like you just said. We have a fan base who follows us and comes to as many shows as they can. And we have a storyline. I think that's one of the similarities with the WWE is we have a storyline and we have cliffhangers. And boy, oh boy, you want to see this? This guy got screwed. He's going to get his revenge.
Come back to the show in
next show,
3 weeks or whatever.
Come back next month.
We'll be at this location. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and they're into it. And they remember everything.
That's awesome. It's really kind of like I always felt the ECW was the best indie show ever.
Oh God, yeah.
To me, they came to Minnesota once, and still to this day, it is the greatest wrestling show I've ever seen live. To this day, and I've been to a lot of shows. Like, I go to almost every big production that comes to the Twin Cities. I missed when AEW came to the Twin Cities. I haven't seen a live show of theirs, but I've seen probably 12 WCW shows, countless WWE shows, WWF shows, and I saw one ECW show live, and it was, again, the greatest live show I've ever seen. So
right. And I like I said, I grew up watching this, and then ECW came along, and you're just going, holy cow, how are these guys not dead for some of the matches that they do? And it was just extreme wrestling.
It was. And somebody today on Facebook said, are we going to see puppets wrestling puppets?
That was, my friend Jerry Roberts brought that up, and I'm like, no, that's a great idea. I absolutely love that idea. Who knows? We might, TV might have a resurrection,
or something,
do a
or
wrestling
an iteration of something down the road.
it'd be a lot of fun. Yeah, definitely, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So tell us about Transylvania Television. Where did you come into the works? At what point were you there at the ground floor of it, or was it kind of later? And then, because there's a lot that goes into that, because obviously everybody's gonna be like, is it like the Muppets? That's what the first thing everybody's gonna think, right? That's the first thing I always thought. Yeah. I mean, I knew somebody else besides yourself who worked on the show a little bit, and so for me it was like I understood the gist of it. So yeah, go ahead. I won't interrupt you again. Although I kind of should, because it'd be funny.
No, it is. There's a Muppet vibe to it. Like I said, Gordon Smuter, the brains behind it, built all the puppets, and the guy's a genius when it comes to building props and stuff like that. He had worked for a company called Minifex, and they made props for commercials and movies, and they did anything made in the Twin Cities. They made the props. So Gordon is a huge Jim Henson Muppet, HR Puppet stuff. Croft something. Pardon me if I don't. Somebody chime in and tell me what something Croft.
I don't know. I'd like to answer that, but I'm like, that's the only one I couldn't tell you.
On the tip of my tongue. Yeah, they did like the Bugaloos and HR Puffin stuff and those kinds of shows.
Okay.
So he added a little bit, and it's cool because a lot of the puppets that are made were made with the same kind of material that the Muppets were made from.
Yeah.
So they're super high quality. Just the detail is amazing. But I was in on the ground level on that one where he called, and I've known Gordon. It's one of those friends that you've known longer than you haven't, and I think we met at MiniCon, which is now Convergence.
Yeah.
But back in my day. Get off my convention. We had MiniCon, and it was at the Bloomington Hotel down in it's now the DoubleTree. I'm old. I don't remember crap anymore.
It was at a hotel somewhere.
It was at a hotel. Yeah, totally legit. And so he, we became good friends, and he said, "Hey, I'm doing this puppet show. Would like to have you come in and be a part of it." I said, "Yeah, absolutely. Sounds like a blast." Went into the studio where they had it, and Gordon had all the puppets laid out on the table. And he says, "Well, we have Count LeShock, the vampire, and he's going to be puppeteered by Charles Hubble, who's a local Minneapolis actor. He's fantastic. So he's doing that. But we've got all these other characters, the Frankenstein, Dwayne the Frankenstein monster, Batfink, and a bunch of others." And I gravitated towards Batfink, which is the kind of the 60s Ed Roth, Ratfink kind of character.
Yeah.
And he's a bat hipster bat.
Yeah.
He's got the goatee and the Hawaiian shirt and kind of talks like this. "Man, how you doing? We're gonna dig up some dead bodies today, boss." And I just picked that up, and so I just gave it the Scatman Crothers voice, because to me that's what he would sound like. And then we got the script, and it was the first episode was an interview with some vampire. I think it was something like that. And so we filmed it all in the at Minifex at the time, and it was just a blast. And it ran for a number of years.
Yeah.
And it's on Amazon Prime. You can still see it. It's published.
There's the link on Amazon Prime right there.
Mm-hmm. Fair warning: it is not really for kids. But our line is, "Hey, if the kids get the jokes, it's not our fault."
We didn't raise them.
We didn't raise your kids. But so it's more of adult humor. It's not vulgar or anything like that. But there are stuff like this might be more for older, unless it goes over the kids' heads, because it's funny looking Muppets.
Right. That was the thing I was going to say, because like growing up for me, there are a lot of things that weren't meant for kids that I watched And I like,
Yeah.
I was a kid and I used to watch Steve Martin stand up. I thought it was funny as hell. Years later, I was watching the same show and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
now it's even more funny. Now I know what a venereal disease is.
Yeah. And he's out there with the white suit, the arrow through the head, and the bunny ears, playing a banjo.
Yeah.
And saying things like, "Yeah, I do a lot of work with unwed mothers, just helping them get their start."
Right.
And you're 10 going, well, all I see are bunny ears and an arrow through the head. That's
and his delivery, the way he did delivery and the way he did his voice.
Oh man.
He could have said anything. It didn't matter what the joke was. As a kid, like this guy, you just know when somebody's funny. They're just funny. It doesn't matter, what it is. So like Gallagher, like he had a lot of political humor. I didn't get the political humor, but the way he delivered it and his facial expressions and the audience reaction sold me as a kid growing up.
Yeah. Oh yeah. A lot of that stuff. Laughing, some of the Carol Burnett stuff where it was funny, but when your parents are laughing harder than you are,
yeah,
and because they're getting the jokes, you go, what does that mean? What's syphilis?
Right.
Yeah.
People, I'm not telling you that the show's okay for your kids to watch. I'm just saying.
Yeah, you're just saying. I'm just saying.
Not saying. I'm just saying.
Watch it. But no, watch it.
Just watch it.
But yeah, we did a Halloween special that actually aired on Channel 9. It was the true meaning of Halloween, where it was the Pumpkin Prince was coming to, save Halloween. And it was a huge production. It took forever to film, but it turned out just beautiful. And I was able to grab some of the props from the show. So in my basement, I actually have like castle walls that are carved on a styrofoam, but on camera you can't.
Yeah.
It looks beautiful.
Yeah. Did you get to keep Fink?
No, I didn't. I do have his arms though, which is weird. It's strange. Gordon, I asked him. I said, "Can I buy it from you? Can I?" He goes, "No," and I don't blame him. But he said, "I'm swapping out the arms on Batfink. Would you like his arms?" I went, "Yeah, absolutely." So I have those back in the display case back there.
Nice. Have you gone back recently and been like, "Hey, it's been a few years. Is there any chance I can get that puppet?"
No, but I should ask.
You should be like, "It's been a few years." I mean, you know that I'm going to take care of it. It means something to me. It's important.
Oh,
you have all these other puppets. What's one puppet?
Right. And it's funny at the screening.
I forget to start the timer, FYI.
Oh,
now we're going.
now.
And now.
At the screening, we did the screening for the
We're
Halloween
professional
show.
over here, by the way.
Yeah. They had made a cake for us, and they had all the characters made out of fondant. And this is to tell you how kids don't eat fondant. If you get a chance to, don't. It's like chicken McNuggets or Twinkies. They never go bad. And I was able to grab the Batfink fondant character from the cake. And again, it's in the display case in a case. Let me grab it. I'll show you.
Don't break it. I don't want to be at fault for breaking.
So I was able to. I said, "Hey, can I have it?" Yeah. All right. I grabbed the arms too to show you. So there's the.
That's awesome. That's actually really good. That's really kept up well. Holy cow!
Yeah, and I don't know when that was.
It looks a little squishy, but yeah, gravity.
He's in a baseball case, but
yeah.
So that was somebody made that, and there's the original Batfink with the claws.
Yeah. Does it have the little wire thing to move the hands?
There's the hole, right?
There's the hole for it? Okay.
The hole for it, yeah. That was the hardest part because you have the wrist and, you can't put your hands in it. Gordon's puppet, he plays furry Akamon's.
Oh, yeah. He's got the Rolf type hands.
Yeah, he's got all the hands. But I would not want to be that character because he had to actually put it on.
Oh.
So he's in the thing with hands up.
So he's got one up by his head, but it's over his head. Then the other one is his hand doing the stuff.
Mm-hmm. And if he was doing two-handed stuff, it was a two-man puppet. So it was like, nope, I'm just give me the simple one with the rod arms, and there's outtakes. If you get a chance, look up I think you can Google them, TV or Transylvania TV, however they do it, outtakes. And there's one of me as Batfink trying to dial a telephone. It's terrible.
Was it a rotary phone? Was it a rotary phone?
Yeah.
It was a rotary phone. Yes.
Yeah. And it was like, let me make some calls, boss. And the hand is just palsy arm. And I just you're just laughing and go, please, let's just change this. There's no way I can dial this phone. And of course you're under the table, under the set, and you go like this.
Yeah.
And you can't see.
And I'm assuming you're looking at a prompter that's showing you what the audience sees.
Oh yeah, you're looking at the monitor, the prompt, and going, okay, I can see the phone. I just got to get up to it closer, warmer, colder. It was, and the great thing, it was a rotary phone, but it was that old kind where you had to hold it like this and pick up the receiver.
Oh no, that's even worse.
So that was, and I had the receiver. They had put the receiver in the hand.
Yeah, like Velcro or something.
Here, and I'm trying to dial it, and like I can't do it. It's impossible. But it made for a pretty funny outtake.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, I haven't seen it. Just talking about it is funny as hell.
I believe it's out there, so hopefully it's out there. Somebody find it.
Was that your first foray into any kind of puppeteering stuff? Did somebody have to be like, this is kind of how they work and how, like, okay, you're going to be here, but you're looking at, the TV, the monitor underneath the table. Did they have to explain that to you, or had you done stuff before?
No, I had never done any of that before. And of course, you look at it and you go, that's puppets. How hard could it be? That's pretty freaking hard. And we had training from a guy named John Jennings, who did puppeteering for Disney. And so he knew his stuff. And so we would, take weekends and spend hours on, okay, eye line. Where are you looking? Look over here. Don't, talk with your thumb is the jaw. So it's like, hey, everybody, how you doing? This is great. Instead of what I did when we first started.
Which is like that.
First episode, the head is going like this. And I remember my buddy Jeff Nepple, who later became a part of the show and is, again, another genius.
Yeah, he's amazing.
And we were talking later, and he goes, yeah, I was watching that first episode, and man, your puppeteering sucked. I went, yeah, I'll agree. I'll be the first person to say that. It was just terrible. It got better.
Guys. Get through the first season, then you'll be fine.
Right. But it was just the floppy head. And now when I see commercials that have puppets on it, or some show, I'm hypercritical looking at it going, oh, you have no idea what you're doing. Or the mouth is like, hey, everybody. Hey, welcome to the show. We're great to have you here. And it doesn't match up.
Yeah.
It's just, oh, you're killing me, Smalls.
Yeah, for sure. Did you, maybe I'm wrong, but did you write and or direct an episode or two?
No, I didn't. I wouldn't say I wrote anything, but the great thing about it was we had a script, but Gordon and Michael Hegel, the other bigwig in department, they said, and we had a cast of genius writers, but they said, hey, here's the lines. If you have something funnier, do it. So we would go through and do a script read and read it and go, boy, I don't know if that's a great line, but what if he added this to it or added that to it? And so we had the freedom to do that, but no, we had much smarter people than me to write and put these things together, and they all knocked it out of the park. But I just wanted to just give me the funny lines and point me in the direction to go, and I'll go from there. Tell me what to say, and I don't want to create anything. But no, it was a lot of fun.
Is there, and you're gonna understand this, maybe our audience might take a moment to understand, but when telling a joke or making a joke or trying to be funny for, whether it be in a live audience or even a studio or a show or something pre-recorded, there's a cadence and a timing that needs to be met to try and deliver properly. We talked about it a little bit earlier with the thing, like that one guy that he was talking about his Jaguar. That probably could have been done really funny if it was delivered a certain way.
Right.
Is there a difference in how you deliver to make something funny between doing the puppeteering and the recorded, the video recording of a puppeteering versus doing a live show or a live audience, such as a Feast of Fantasy or a Smoker or something like that?
The only difference is, well, if we're recording something, we can do it over again, and do several takes and go, no, the first one we did was better, or we can kind of pick it apart and put it back together. With live theater, and it's pretty much, it's out of your mouth, you can't get it back.
Yeah.
And sometimes the fun part is trying to get the toothpaste back into the tube if you say something and it comes out wrong. Like, that's not what I meant. But it's a lot of, you really have to listen to your audience and pay attention, and that doing that just really helps you come up with, okay, not only listening to them, but going, what are they saying in the moment right now? And at the same time going, I have to listen, but I have to see if I can make that funny, or what can I, giving me the ingredients, how do I put it together and create a good product and a funny line? And a lot of times saying nothing is just as funny, especially like with the Jaguar guy, where he was proud and super happy that he gets to toast his car with his former date, probably now, right there. And when he finishes it, just dead silent, of going, I can't believe what I'm hearing right now. And now you become part of the audience's reaction, where they're looking at you, go, what are you going to say? And you just go, I can't, how do I follow that? Nothing.
Yeah.
And sometimes, with live audiences, they might intervene with something and throw a line out and go, that's great. Thank you. We're going to hire you as a writer now.
Right.
You're funnier than we are.
Yeah. I always was curious, because you don't get a live audience when you're, I mean, I guess you have the if there's a film crew or whoever, the other actors are there, but when it's just you in front of a camera, like, you don't get that react, like with wrestling, right? When there was no fans, when it was the pandemic and they were recording that stuff, like, they didn't have a live audience to go off of, to feel off of. They didn't have a crowd.
Right.
So how do you know, did I pause too long? Did I not pause too long? Did I deliver that in a funny way? Should I have done it more serious? How do I do, like, how did it come across when I'm, and then you're on top of that, you're like this, you're a puppet.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah. This
is why I wear black shirts.
Right. Ta-da. Yeah, great point. And with when you have, like, you're filming for TV, we've got the cast and the crew, and there'll be many times that somebody will do a take and deliver the line, and the director goes, cut, and then we burst out laughing because something funny was said. And I remember it was an episode where Batfink was at a urinal for whatever reason. And he's at the urinal, and Gordon, this wasn't even on camera, but Gordon had made, like, a little penis for Batfink. And he just took the felt and rolled it up. So this rolled up little, thing.
Yeah.
And
it's not for kids, people.
Camera.
We said it already.
We warned you. It's not on camera, but it was a little joke for just all of us.
Oh, okay.
And Batfink's at the urinal. He's like, hey man, just don't talk to me. You're breaking my concentration. And I looked down. Batfink looks down. I look down, and there's this pause, and Batfink goes, oh man, that looks like a rusty chalupa. Wasn't in the script. It was just me dicking around. And we get to the line, cut, and then it just laughter. And so we went off of if it's funny to us, hopefully it's funny to most of the audience. But yeah, if a joke bombs in a real live show, it's like, right away.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't land. So with filming stuff, you just got to go, well, I got to trust it. And the timing, you learn timing and how to go, how many beats between setup to punchline, or this thing to like 94 Jaguar. Okay. Well, that's interesting. And you giving the space,
Let
the
it breathe
beat
a
in
little bit.
between. Yeah. And the audience they look at the guy, then they'll look at you for reaction. And if you do they can tell that the wheels are turning. And sometimes the joke is right there. Or sometimes it's like, I got nothing. And that just being honest
Sometimes
with the
that's
audience.
funnier.
Oh yeah. They'll look at you and it's like, what do you got? And I go, I, I can't top that. I got nothing. I'm changing dealers. I'm done.
Yeah.
So it varies, but it's always a crapshoot. But it's most of the time it works out for the best. But
I did
it's just
I did a show that was like a mockumentary. It was a documentary comedy type show.
mhm.
And it was supposed to be about like this monster, kind of like a Sasquatch type, local Sasquatch type monster. And this guy was coming and doing a documentary on this monster or whatever. And they had me, and one of my friends was kind of like the main actress, but she was kind of producing it with all of her like all of her friends that she did movies and stuff with out in LA. And she's from the area, and she's like, she called on some of her high school people that she knew could act and did performing stuff locally. And so I was in there, and I was supposed to be like the local guy selling stuff. And I got the script, and I'm like, oh, this is great. This would be, and in my mind, I'm reading the script, and I'm like, this is the delivery I had in my mind.
Yeah.
Like it's this guy. He's super excited to be here. He really wants to sell this stuff, whatever. And I get there, day of filming, and they go, oh no, we want you to be as dry as possible. You are so over this. You are so done with this whole muck monster thing. You are just done. And instantly I was like, okay. But it was still like, they still wanted it to be funny. And like, and I don't know who the guy mainly directing it with her was, but he was some bigwig that did a bunch of like commercials and short films, and went to the Cannes Movie Festival and stuff like that. And he was throughout the show. Side note, throughout the show, he's like, "Where do you find all these people? You had one school that had all of these people that had all of this talent. What the f?" So we're sitting there, and I'm doing the thing, and like I've got a thing, and it's like a table with like cookies and things for just whatever, and he's talking about it, and I'm sitting there just like, ah. And he's like, yes, the muck monster, blah 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 blah, and we got all of these things. And he's like, yeah. And then he grabs a cookie and he takes a bite out of it. And that was where it's supposed to end. It was supposed to cut at that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't want to go out of the way, but God, I got something I want to say. And so I'm just sitting there, and he takes a bite out of it, and I give it a good second, because I know they've got to edit. They can edit it. I give it a good second, and I go, that'll be $5. And everybody, they yelled cut, and everybody, like you said, just everybody burst out laughing. Yep. And that ended up getting in there. They're like, let's do that again. Okay. Let's do that again. And, we'll redo it, and I'll plan for it, because I think I broke character when you said that. And so same thing. Like, yeah, if everybody thinks it's funny, it's probably funny.
Right. We'll give it a shot, see what happens. If nothing else, we can always redo it.
Yeah, right. So, yeah. What was it like? Were there any like mishaps? Because they're puppets. They sometimes can fall apart. You could be moving, and you have the arms, right? The arms can come off. Mm-hmm. Were there any big mishaps, and how do you guys deal with that? You got everybody there, you got the crew. How do you roll with shit like that?
Oh yeah, and again, going back to, if you get a chance, look up the bloopers. There's several scenes of this stuff going wrong. We decided to do, in between episodes, to do like little commercials, and it was I think it was Mad Max Minnows or something like that. And it was just Gordon was running the puppet, and he has a pitchfork in his hand, but somebody else was holding the pitchfork off camera, because it's just a simple felt hand.
Yeah.
And the pitchfork came detached from the hand and was just sort of floating around. But we've had, not a lot of mishaps, but stuff where something had crashed, or you, as you know, you're a puppeteer, so you're not really paying attention to where you're walking. Um, there's getting again repeating myself, going back to the bloopers one. Uh, Charles Hubble, who puppeteered Count LeShock, he was supposed to leave his office and then go to go out the door and then slam the door. And he he gets to the door, and it was like, I don't know what the line was, but instead of the action was slam, but he just said the action word. So it was like what he was supposed to do, he said. Well, I'm going over here now. Slam. It's like, no, you slammed the door. Shit. So just bloopers like that, or just messing up the line and flubbing them up, and people just going, okay, that's where'd you get that?
Yeah.
But yeah, we keep a hot glue gun on the set at all times, just in case.
Is that how they're kind of put together temporarily, or is that how they're put together permanently? Do they use hot glue gun for the whole thing, or is there mostly sewed stitching?
Yeah, well, like the puppets are all hand stitched and sewn and beautifully done. A lot of stuff at the last moment, yeah, hot glue or enter name of adhesive here to hold that together. Nail guns. But we learned when we first started filming, we were kind of like at human level, and then realized, oh, the way Gordon took a lot from the Muppet Show and how they did production. So quickly, later on, all the set became elevated.
Yeah.
So otherwise we were down crouching and, on knee boards and skateboards and trying to get across. But now, which made it impossible to walk, because you could only do this for so long before you had to get up and reposition yourself.
Yeah.
But since they made the entire set elevated, so it's, instead of like 6 feet off the ground, where you could actually walk normally.
Yeah.
With the puppet, which made it a lot easier, because you've got the monitors on the floor to see what the audience is seeing, and we'd have sometimes have the script taped to various set pieces in big letters so we could read it from a distance, and had a headset on, and you're like this, and it's just a whole contortion circus act. But having everything elevated made it super easy to get around. There were scenes where one of the characters would be in bed, so you'd have to do underneath the bed, come up, hole in the bed, up above.
My wife often refers, like, I'll make the face that I just made now. She's like, "Oh, that's your Muppets face." It's like,
oh yeah, I picked up on that right away.
Yeah, that's my Muppets face. Do it all the time. I'm a big fan of the Muppets, so if you couldn't tell by the intro that our audience made for me,
that was brilliant. We kind of wanted to do something like that for the feast, kind of an opening. And I kept thinking, boy, if we could do like the Muppet Show theme, but tweak the verbiage to the Feast of Fantasy and stuff like that. But that's as far as I got with it. I'm like, we'll do it later. We'll do it next year.
We'll do it next year. We'll do it next year in 2015 and 10 years later. And by the way, welcome on in, and hello Renfield, welcome in. Thank you guys. Thank you for the follow as well on Kick. Much appreciated. And hello Classic Sam. Classic Sam, another show host, interviews a lot of game people. Definitely go and check out Classic Sam. I don't know if you're Laszlo, if you know of the Viva La Dirt League guys on YouTube. They do a lot of like video game reference shows and stuff. And they've had Hamish on their show, and
nice.
Their D&D GM Robert Hartley. Robert Hartley's been on this show as well.
Nice.
So they get all kinds of tabletop RPG, D&D type people. Sure. They do a show very similar to this, or very similar to my podcast. A great show. So
excellent. Yeah.
So yeah, and like I said, hello Renfield. You were late. You were just finishing watching the original Beetlejuice.
Ooh, the original. Yes, that's a remake.
Gotta get ready for the Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice is the new movies called with Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton, he's coming back, baby. I loved him at the Oscars.
That was great. Did you see did you hear his story about behind the scenes?
Oh yeah, he brought an ascot.
Yeah, he brought like a thing because he's like, well, if I'm going to be Bruce Wayne, I'm going to be Bruce Wayne. Like, so he knew about it in advance. I was like, that is so cool. And that is classic. Michael Keaton, he's amazing.
Oh yeah, it was great. Glad that's beautiful how that played out.
I was going to look. There was something we talked about on the side of possible other subjects. And I know we kind of chatted a little bit about one during the Renaissance Festival talk. And I'm trying to think what the other one was. And now my whole computer just went. It's like, nope, you don't get to see that message chain. You don't get to see it. We're going to open you up into something else. Do you recall? Question for Laszlo.
Uh-oh.
What's your question, Renfield? Shoot your shot.
Renfield
2023. He's a big fan of the movie, by the way. He loves movies. Renfield is a big movie buff.
Nice.
Knows all of the things. And I'm just waiting for him to respond with his question. There's a stream delay, so sometimes it takes a few minutes for them to see.
Type faster.
Type faster! Type it!
Oh, you type it, Cecil, now.
You know, I have a question for you. Going back to Renfest, because that's where we know each other mostly from.
Yeah.
What is your take on the intro? You know, when you're at the front gate. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's always at the front gate anymore now these days. I think they moved it for a little while. Maybe they moved it back. What is your take on the front gate show and kind of how it's been run over the course of your career? And how do you think it should be? How do you think it should, in your opinion, you as a performer, what do you think the feel and how that should be presented? Because it's been presented a handful of different ways throughout the years.
Right. Yeah, the opening gate show is a tricky beast, and it's obviously gone through a lot of different changes in its evolution. I'm the lazy one because my show is at 11, so I kind of get in there and I don't. After cast call, I book it to Bad Manor to get ready. But on occasion, we'll go through, and I've been part of the opening gate show a couple times. And I don't know this name of the song. I know the entertainment director at the time wanted kind of like a real happy,
right?
Disney
Raleigh to Rollido.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. And after 7 weekends,
watermelon.
Yeah, exactly. you get it. But it's really.
I like that song actually. It brings back fond memories for me.
It's crowd work, and you've got, when you've got several thousand people ready to come in, you got to get them. They're already excited. You really don't have to do much, but trying to interact and bring everybody in, it just hypes them up and gets them in there. And the song, what I love about it is that the people you're outside the gate, and if you've never been there, you're standing outside the gate, and the king is up on top with some other people, and they're doing bits and back and forth. But then slowly in the back behind them, you start to hear the music, and you're going, "Oh, there's something happening back there. What is that?"
Yeah.
And then it builds and builds and builds, and open the gates, and the cannon goes off, and they come in, and the people walk into. There's the cast, greeting them. Welcome, come on in. So you start out on a happy note, and everybody's excited, and it's just, I think it's great, and I love that it's different every year.
Yeah.
So you never know what you're gonna get.
And sometimes every day.
Yeah, exactly. And we've, the opening gate show that Jim and I were part of. It was all about bringing merriment into the festival.
Yeah.
And my favorite, there was a trumpeter. His only job was to blow the fanfare for the king. Yeah. And that was, the king's cue to come in when he heard the fanfare. And the trumpeter, he he's like, now? Do I do it now? When do I? He just wanted to make sure he got it right. And Jim and I are on top of the front gate, and we're looking at all the people. And it was one of those.
Were you guys in the main spot? There's a main spot, and then there's like a little side stage that's also part of the front.
Yeah, we were up on top.
Okay.
We started off on the side, then we made our way to the middle.
Okay.
And
if you know, you know, guys. Sorry.
Yeah.
Take a trip to Minnesota and come visit me and Laszlo.
Yeah. So, and it goes 7 weekends, and we were over. It was like Memorial or Labor Day weekend, and Labor Day weekend is tough.
Yeah, it's a long weekend.
It's a long weekend, and we do 8 shows. So with eight feasts, and we're dead. And we had to do. It was like Sunday of Labor Day weekend. We're all tired, and Jim and I are staying there, and patience got a little thin, and the trumpeter is still missing his cue, and it was like, and now, boy, the king will be here soon, and that was the cue. The king will be here soon, and we all turn and look at the trumpeter, and the trumpeter goes, now, and Jim, my partner, goes, listen, yes, now, this is how it works. You blow, and the king will come, okay? And then he realized what he said, and we just went. And
when you realize what you said, then it's like, then you have to take that moment to look at the audience.
Yeah, it was one of those, the audience is over here, and we're looking and going, I don't want to look over here. I just don't. And we look over, and there's our entertainment director on the ground, standing on a bench, and he's just like, and Jim, God bless him, he didn't realize what he said. What he said. So he said, no, blow the trumpet. It was like, blow the trumpet, and the king will come on out. But he said, yes, you blow, and the king will come. Dead silent. And we just turned and we looked at the entertainment director and went, so sorry. So sorry. No, that's funny. Put that in the show. But we put it in every one, but it was that first initial shock value of going, oh shit. Well, again, hey kids, if kids get the jokes, not our fault.
Yeah.
But I think the opening gate show is a critical part of the show. If you can't just have them go, come on, next.
Right.
You need like WrestleMania. You have to have the fireworks and the boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, exactly. You have to have that first. The first match is always got to be one of the best matches. You either want to be on first or you want to be on last. You don't want to be on in the middle. And that's exactly it. And I always tell people, if you're going to get there, you either get there. It depends on what day you're going. If you're not going to be there on the last day of all of the shows, any other time, you want to be there at the opening gate.
Yep.
If you don't want a long day and you're there on the last day of the show, you want to stay for the end. Because the last show at the end of the day, that's, there's something special that happens on that particular day. And that's the same thing I always tell people.
Yeah, that's so true. So true.
Not immediately when I first started, but it was like my second or third year there. That was there's a new queen, and that's when Linda was being introduced. And they had a 2-year story that spanned 2 years, and it escalated throughout. So the first half of the first year, it was like the opening gate was one story, and that story evolved throughout the year.
Right.
And then in the day, throughout the entire day, every single day, the story would evolve. So if you're there at the main gate and then you saw them at a certain point in the day, it evolved. And then the next year was the wedding. And it was like this really cool story. I got the pirates got to be the bouncers. I love that. I got to be one of the bouncers, and I bought a brand new outfit. I went to Felix Needleworthy, and I bought a full regalia, the sleeves, and I changed it. I've changed a full Felix outfit to be piratey, and that was like my fancy garb. And the first time I ever wore it was for the wedding. And and I loved it because it was just like, I'm fancy and I'm also fucking hot as hell.
Literally.
But yeah, that really told me like this front gate is special. To me, it made the front gate more special, that it had this very special story. It was very unique, and if you weren't there, you missed out. And it was that
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
like, you need to be there. And from that on, like every time I'm like, I got to see what are they doing this year for the front gate show.
Right, right. And years ago, back in the 90s area, the front show was amazing. And they also did a closing gate show where, and the peasants would do a
I think
grovel
they
and there would
still
be,
should do a closing gate show instead of
oh, I'd
the big,
love to
the
see
big
it.
tunnel, the
Yeah.
giant funnel tunnel of doom and destruction.
Right, right. And they would do pie fights and they would do just really no holds barred just to entertain the king.
Hmm.
And it was a great, the show, the show's over, but hey, there's an after party outside called the Closing Gate Show. Come on out. And it was a great way to draw people out. At the end of the day, you got to get them out of there. So that was a great way to draw them out. And now we're outside. Now we do the Closing Gate Show. Now you can send them on your way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I miss the old Closing Gate shows. And there was a group out there when I started. It's like 5 or 6 guys called the Law, and they were just guys they had just regular white shirts, but their tights were just funky stripes, just bizarre. They stood out, and they'd go around causing mischief and whatnot. And they decided to do something called the drunk patron sketch, and they had one guy, one of the members,
I already
in
see where this
street.
is going.
Yeah, I think it was a guy named BJ, good friend of mine, and he was sitting on a big rock in festival, like kind of where Bad Manor is area, kind of in the middle, and by the bakery. And he's sitting on a rock, and he's in street clothes, so he looks like everybody else. And he's sitting there with his mug, and the Law walks by with their tights and puffy shirts, and he starts making fun of them. He's like, "Oh, look at these guys and their fancy tights and blah blah blah," just insult, insult, insult. And they all surround him, and they say, "Sir, you're going to have to please tone it down. This is a family show. You don't tell me what to do. I know the owner." And he's just making all this allegations and stuff, just having a blast. And they all look at each other, and they look at BJ, and they look at him, and they grab him, and then they carry him out. Everybody had a limb, so it's one guy, leg, arm, holding his belt, carry him out like luggage from the bakery to the front gate, and he's yelling, "You can't do this to me! I'm gonna sue!" and blah blah blah. And so what the audience sees, people in the street are seeing these 4 guys carry out this drunk, belligerent dude, and they carry him out, and they get to the front gate area, and they 1, 2, and they throw him
Oh man.
through the doors, and he gets
Like
up.
the doors were closed and he hit the doors and then
No, the doors were open,
Okay.
but they threw him through the opening.
ow. That's a
Yeah,
bump I
still-
wouldn't want to take.
Right.
If the door was there, it's like, okay, you can make a good, use it to break your fall, essentially. But
No, they tossed him. And then he went backstage, and then the next day, which was hilarious, we were all watching this, seeing where this is going. Next day at cast call, they get up and go, "All right, we're gonna have a great day. The weather's like this and this and this." Oh, a couple quick announcements. First of all, you know who you are. There will be no more drunk patron sketches allowed. And half the cast are going, "What's he talking about?" And the rest of us are in the corner just giggling like schoolgirls. This is one of the times where it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission, because
Right.
they would have never approved that.
Yeah,
But those were the antics that happened back in the day.
that's funny. I mean, I can see that still being something that could happen these days, depending
yeah.
on the people.
Totally, yeah.
Renfield did ask his question, though. Going back to Michael Keaton and Beetlejuice. Would you
Yes.
like to see him return in the role as Batman or for a third Beetlejuice movies? Also, would you like to get a chance to work with him on one of his movies? And it's a question for both of us. And I'm going to say yes, yes, and yes.
Oh yeah.
There's no, of course I want to.
Screw that guy. I would never work with him.
No, yeah.
Hack. No, so I'm a huge Batman fan, and when I watched the Flash movie just to see Michael Keaton come back.
I haven't yet, but I think it's on a show that I can watch for free, so I don't have to pay money for it. So I'll probably be watching it sometime.
Even better. But
I don't want to support Ezra Miller. FYI, that's just me.
Nope, right there with you. but no, I am a huge Michael Keaton fan. When he and I'm old enough to remember, watching Batman, the first one,
Yeah,
as when
same.
my first Michael Keaton, and when they said, "Oh yeah, Michael Keaton, we're bringing back Batman," I'm like, yeah. And I grew up with the Adam West,
Yeah, and then
so
you
I'm
saw the trailer, you're like, what?
he's all in black. This is what? Then they said it's Michael Keaton, and all of us went. I'm sure a lot of people went. Hang on, Mr. Mom is
Mr. Mom.
Batman.
Yeah. The stand-up
Oh
comedian guy.
yeah, the one of my favorite movies that Michael Keaton was in, Night Shift, with him and Henry Winkler, where he plays a character called Billy Blaze. But we're going, okay, this
Gung Ho.
comic
Gung Ho was another one.
Gung Ho, yeah, that Gung Ho came out right before Batman was released, and like this is, boy, I don't know, but we're like we're Batman fans, so we're gonna watch it no matter what. And then we watched it and went, okay, yeah, this is the guy.
Yeah.
But then when he came back and we're watching the trailer with, where he returns, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
He walks up and delivers the line.
Yeah.
I want to get nuts.
Yeah.
Let's get nuts. Like, oh, so yes, I would love to see Keaton come back as Batman. I'm super hyped about Beetlejuice. I think that's going to be killer. Yeah. And yeah, would love. It'll never happen, but yeah, I'd love to work with him.
I actually want to see them do a Batman Beyond based on the cartoon Batman Beyond, and have him be old Bruce in Batman Beyond.
It could happen.
That's what I want. That's what I want to see. I want to see that with, have him be the Kane, but he's still kind of badass, because he's still fucking Batman.
When you watch the new one with him in the Flash, there's a great fight scene in there before you realize who it is.
Nice.
So it's watch it for him.
Awesome. All right, this next question.
Oh. Who's asking this question?
I don't think I need to tell you who. I think you're going to be able to guess. Laszlo, would you ever go back to your former gig as a performer in the drag show at the 90s? You are deeply missed, and it's not the same anymore. I often to think of you in your Princess Leia costume.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
Thank you, Biscuit Cato, for that.
Oh, shut up. That's Liver Mike.
I know.
You son of a bitch. Yeah. Oh, that was the other thing we didn't talk about. I would MC. I got to MC a lot of burlesque shows in Minneapolis, and worked with a great performer who recently passed away, Barbara Gordon, who, my God, a genius.
Not related to Batgirl. Just saying.
No, but that was kind of she was introduced as the commissioner's daughter, Barbara Gordon.
Oh, okay, that's even better.
Yeah, and Barbara would come out with she made all her own props, and she would do, it was, I don't know how to describe it. It was like a cardboard picture of somebody, and the mouth is here, and it would do this while it talked.
Yeah. And
did that, and she would do this whole, what was Sound of Music kind of thing with the da-da-da-da-da, la 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 la, and she would have like 5 or 6 heads, and they would she had it all worked out in the back. This is brilliant puppeteering. Had strings in the back where she would squeeze them and could control each individual mouth or all of them at the same time, and it was just this lip sync over music. But man, oh man, was it good. She did she sang a Cher song. I don't know what it was, but she dressed up as Cher, but was pregnant.
Okay.
And had her normal arm, and then had a fake arm hanging, because she would have the other arm underneath in the pregnant belly with a puppet. And the puppet was Sonny Bono. So it was like, I got you, babe. And the other puppet, the Sonny Bono would pop out of her chest like an alien chest burst and sing as well. And it was just, even though we'd seen these acts, countless times, it was still like it was the first time we saw it, and loved it every time. But got to work with some great, very talented burlesque performers, who some of them are still doing it to this day. But There are some that work out at Renaissance, but it's that weird family dichotomy that you have the Renaissance family, and you've got the wrestling family, and you've got a burlesque family, but they're all, it's the island of misfit toys.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
And to see that crossover of, like with you and I, we have Renaissance and we also have wrestling, and just to talk about it, like, oh yeah, and then Mitch Paradise comes in and gives you a chop and almost knocks you out. Like, these are normal conversations.
Yeah, yeah. Unless somebody else walks in on it. Like,
right,
what are they talking about? What are they talking about?
Oh, and you know this from wrestling. The most entertaining part of the wrestling show is what happens in backstage in the dressing room.
Yeah,
because they're getting ready for the show, and I'm sitting there and I've got my note card. I'm all ready to go, and I'm staying out of the way, and I'm watching these guys, get ready and talk about the show and talk about the matches and everything like that. And I'm thinking to myself, oh man, I would love to do like the play Noises Off, but do Noises Off for backstage wrestling.
Right.
Because there's two shows. There's the main show that everybody sees, and there's the backstage show. And the two are so different, but they're both very entertaining.
I had a conversation with somebody recently about it would be fun to have something like that, but like have it be like The Office. But it's wrestling. Yes. It's the wrestling thing. And then we joked about it being, okay, well, what if the show is, imagine you're in the PR department of like WWE, right? But you don't know what they're going to do. And it's in the Attitude Era.
Oh, God.
And you're like, well, how do we spin this? Well, somebody just gave birth to a hand, but it was a 90-year-old woman gave birth to a hand of this Olympic weightlifter. How do we spin that, guys?
Right. Oh, again, to be a fly on the wall on a lot of that.
I just like to have that be like a show, a TV show, The Office.
The Ring.
Right.
We call the Ring.
But not the horror one, not the horror of the Ring. Right.
No, not that. Yeah, you're right. That one. The squared circle.
Yeah. You don't want to call it The Wrestler because
Epic
then
Realms
what's
is
his
the
name?
best.
Thank you very much for Epic Realms is the best. Who played that? Toasty Toesies, thank you very much. Welcome on in and hello. Somebody asked, have you seen the new Deadpool Wolverine trailer?
Yes. I have a love-hate relationship with trailers, because trailers nowadays are most of the movie, or the best parts of the movie.
I like when they give you shit that's not in the movie.
Oh, that pisses me off. What? It was Dirty Rotten Scoundrels with Steve Martin and Michael Caine. The trailer was, and this is the only reason I wanted to watch this movie, was that Michael Caine and Steve Martin are walking down by a pool, and they're talking normally, and there's somebody standing on the edge of the pool. And as they walk, they don't make eye contact with the guy. They look straight ahead. As they're walking, one of them just pushes them into the pool. Like, oh, that's hilarious. Yeah. It wasn't in the movie.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Was it in the outtakes or anything? Like the cutscenes?
No, it was just an extra thing. So, but I have seen the Deadpool Wolverine, and the music it's a great trailer, but the music that they put behind it, it's, and the slow walking, I call it the Tarantino walk, the Reservoir Dog walk, where they come out of camera into camera and they're all walking in sync together. But no, I love that storyline. I'm sure Disney and Marvel are going, what are they going to do?
Yeah.
Just don't tell us.
Yeah. No, I'm sure it's going to be great. And they have a new thing out. They've been, how when you go into a movie theater and they're like, make sure to turn off your cell phones, everybody. Have you seen you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
And it's like both the make sure to turn off your cell phones, but also like, we're going to remind you that we've got Wolverine in a rated R movie as Wolverine.
And he addresses you as Wolverine.
It's like, come on, neck muscles, let's go.
When Deadpool has to be the voice of reason.
Right. You got that going for me, which is nice. That's for sure. That is nice.
Gunga gunga lunga.
Yeah, when it's like 5 minutes of Hugh Jackman swearing at the person with the cell phone, you know, and it's just F-bombs, and all you hear is beep, 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 beep.
Yeah,
Deadpool's
it
like,
just gets
whoa,
worse.
settle down. Yeah. I'm looking forward to the
Hey,
movie.
man.
Hopefully it does amazing, awesome, and well.
I'm sure it will. I hope so. I'll go into it just ready to go.
Yeah. What other stuff you got going on? What do you got coming up? Other shows you're doing, events. What are things that people can find you? Can people find you doing stuff online at all?
No, not so much. I'm not much on this. I have Facebook. That's about it. I just do a lot of promoting of wrestling shows. We have a show coming up. We're going to be. I'm looking at my notes. In Hamel, Minnesota.
Because I drank all
Which
that.
is
That's why it's good.
Yeah, you know where that. They're right by the Medina Ballroom.
Medina, yeah.
And that's outdoor show there.
That's a great venue, by the way. Every time I go by, I'm like, man, this place this belongs somewhere else. This is a weird place for this to be, but it's awesome.
Yeah, so we're in Hamel at a VFW out there, but the ring is, we do the summer shows and they're all outside, which is a whole other animal because I dress in a tuxedo, and we've got the wrestlers wearing the shorts and the trunks and all that jazz, and we've done shows like 4th of July shows where it was close to 100 degrees out, and the mat is kind of like it's a darker color, and it gets hot enough sometimes you could fry an egg on these mats. So I'm like, no, aren't you hot and wearing the tux? So yeah, but I can get out and go back into the building where it's air conditioning. So we got a show coming up June 8th in Hamel, and then we're doing a show June 29th, Kaposia Days in St. Paul. That's a free show. And then we're gearing up for Renaissance coming up in August.
Awesome.
So yeah, that takes up enough time. I'm doing currently anywhere from 2 to 3 wrestling shows a month, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it's as soon as we get done with the first one. We did the show on Friday in St. Paul. That was the one with the low ceilings, and we got done with that show. Next day, we've already got the card for the show coming up a month away. So
Yeah.
it's always coming. And like I said, the great thing, we're bringing in new talent. These guys they work their tails off.
Yeah.
And everybody just wants to. They're all the same purpose: put on the best show possible, have fun, and don't get hurt.
Yeah.
Try not to get hurt.
Yeah.
But yeah, you talk about, like we mentioned, Mitch Paradise early on at a primetime show. He was in a match, and accidents happen, and people do get hurt.
Yeah.
He got thrown out of the ring, and he landed wrong and banged up his head, cut his head pretty good.
Ouch.
But had to keep going with the match.
Yeah.
So
that's old school mentality right there.
Right. You just keep going. And
I broke my leg. Yeah, I can finish.
Right. Oh, like Conor McGregor in the UFC. He had one match a couple of years ago. He gets kicked, and his ankle. They broke his ankle.
Yep. Nope. I'm not even. Yeah, I remember seeing it and going, ooh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And he gets back up, and they're like, "No, we got to stop the fight." And of course, the adrenaline and everything, and Conor McGregor being
Connor, not necessarily sanest.
Yeah, he's a little out there. But no, he wanted to keep going. But I kept thinking about that. I'd watched the new Roadhouse movie with Jake Gyllenhaal and Conor McGregor, which is really entertaining.
I got a bad feeling about this. Yeah.
Have you seen it yet?
I haven't. I have a hard time because I'm like, I know what Roadhouse is, and it's got Patrick Swayze in it. Damn it!
They do a nice. It's similar, but it's different. I don't want to tell you. Do you have time for a quick story?
Yeah, sure. All the time. We're on your time. If you need to go, you need to go. If you want to stay for a while, I can hit the timer for 20 more minutes. I'm fine with that. So it's up to you.
Right on. And Mike, Liver Mike, who's probably listening, he'll appreciate this. We talk about this all the time. We both worked, like I said, we were both DJs down in Mankato for a nightclub called the Albatross.
Okay.
And we're pretty new. And if at the time, the Albatross is no longer there, but the DJ booth was about.
Uh-oh. Did we lose you? There, he's back! Welcome back.
Hey, there we go. Sorry about
We're
that.
back. That's okay. I can edit it and post.
Okay.
Actually, I should
Where-
write down the
cool.
time. The time on that.
Where did I cut out?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Something about Roadhouse. Ah! Damn it, Toasty Toesies. Thank you. Thank you.
What happened there?
One of the alerts.
Okay. So
Again,
I
fully
was talking
interactive show. You're welcome, Laz.
I love it. I love it.
Did you wear your brown pants?
Oh, I got my brown pants on. So my Roadhouse story. When I used to DJ at a club called the Albatross in Mankato with my buddy Mike, who was chiming in here. And like I said, we're pretty new. And the Albatross, the DJ booth was about 6 feet up in the air, and it overlooked the dance floor and then the bar in the back of the bar. And we're there, and we're working, and we see a guy at the very back of the bar, big guy. This is the 90s, so he's got a shirt with no sleeves and a bandana, long hair. This is when you can smoke in a bar, cigarette and a cocktail. And he's just observing the bar. He's not interacting. He's not doing anything. And he came there every single night for 2 weeks to watch. And halfway through, I turned to Mike and I go, I think something's going on here. I think whoever this guy is, we should probably just be nice to him and, not, because everybody's going, who's this weirdo? He's hanging out all the time.
Right.
So we said hi to him, and that's about it. And then a couple weeks later, we get there's a meeting. We all had to come in on a Sunday, which was never, ever happened. So they brought the entire crew in, and they sit us all down, and where the dance floor had booths all around it. So we're sitting on the dance floor, and the owner comes out, and he goes, and there's the guy with him who was hanging out at the bar for the last 2 weeks. So Tom is the owner, and he goes, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we got a big announcement to make. I want to introduce you to our new manager, Mr. John Mueller. And it was the guy. So John comes out, and he's just a big, barrel-chested dude, very intimidating. He's got his cigarette. He's like, all right, we're going to have some changes around here. And they had us sit in certain areas. And he looks at one half, and he goes, all right, you guys that are all sitting over here, your paychecks are in the office. Thank you for your service. You are now no longer employed. Turns to the rest of us, and we were sitting over, Mike and I and other bartenders and wait staff sits over here, and he goes, all right, you guys are sticking around, and there's going to be some changes made. And we're just going, I turned to Mike and I go, I think we just got roadhoused. He just he cleaned out half of it. And the next sentence was, all right, we're going to do some training. Everybody back to my apartment. We'll do training. We're going to watch some training films. And we're like, training for what? Okay. So we go over to John's apartment. The training films were the movies Cocktail and Roadhouse. That was our training film. And Cocktail was things for the bartenders, mostly things never to do. And we watched the movie, and he looks at the bartenders. He goes, all right, here's the lesson. If it ever takes more than 5 minutes to make a drink, you're fired. Make the drink, serve the drink, make the next drink. And then we watched Roadhouse, and it was the same thing. It's like, all right, here's the key points of Roadhouse. Be nice until it's time not to be nice. Pay attention. And we're going, is this guy for real or not?
Yeah.
And he was dead serious. Like, these are the training films. We're watching these movies. And that was, 91, 92 era. And to this day, we're still good friends with John. John now owns a bar where the Albatross kind of used to be, called Johnny B's.
Mm-hmm.
So if you ever go to Mankato, stop at Johnny B's, tell him Laszlo sent you, and if he's around, but he'll get a kick out of that. But it was one of those, he's using a movie as a training film.
Right. Right. Well, and sometimes there's truth to movies, right? You see something
Oh, yeah.
and you're like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. I've been there. You watch the movie The Wrestler, right?
Oh God. Yeah.
That's an. I mean that's a biography on how independent wrestling works and the wrestlers from the era that he represented. Like it was very accurate.
Yeah, it was spot on. And that's the thing too. You're watching, you're going, for someone who's not a wrestling or doesn't, as a wrestling fan but doesn't know the ins and outs, to go, does that really happen? I go, yeah, that's pretty much how it is.
Yeah. For sure.
And it's the put on the big show, and you're the superstar, and everybody loves you, and then the show's over, then you go home by yourself.
Yeah, you have to go. You have to deal with that post show, the high, but afterwards,
Right.
you're still pumped, but there's nothing going on. You're like, you gotta come down. But some people have a hard time with that afterwards. They
Oh,
can't.
yeah.
They got to go out and it's got to be big.
Right. And I've worked with wrestlers who are so into it that they'll do a show, and then they'll want to be in the first match, and then they go, I got to be in this first match because I got to get out of here and I got to go to another venue.
Yeah, I got another
So
match to do.
I've seen guys wrestle 2-3 times in one night, or they'll do 2 shows one day. The next day they got 2 more shows, and this is, for some of these guys, this is what they want to do.
Yeah.
This is their career.
And sometimes they have to make money, and that's the only way they can do it, right?
Right. And that's the thing with, independent professional wrestling is there's not a lot of money to be made, but man, these guys have the heart, and they do it, I think mostly like myself, because we love it.
Yeah.
And again, it's, feeding that ego of, I get to be on stage, and for a little bit, I get a spotlight. I get to,
Yeah.
kind of detach from the real world and go into this kind of playground and have fun with it.
Right.
But it feeds that monkey, man.
Somebody says, "Oh man, another person with a very unique name. How do you deal with it?" True story. True story.
Yeah. How do you deal with that, Nick?
I mean, they're not talking about me. They're not talking.
Oh.
I mean, yeah, nobody's got the name Nick. That's a super uncommon name that I only know about 12 people that have that name off the top of my head. But everybody's got a name like you, right? Everybody's name. That's like
Throw a stick.
Yeah.
Throw a puppet and hit a Laszlo.
I always say you can't throw a dead cat without hitting a Laszlo. But
Right, that too. Please don't throw dead cats.
don't.
Disclaimer. No, thank you. That's I've had a lot of people. Is that your real name? Yep, it is my real name. My ethnicity, my dad was from Hungary, and it's like, that's Hungarian. Oh, well, what does it mean? Doesn't mean anything. It's like the most common name in Hungary. It's like a Nick or a Bob or a Steve. And what I get a kick out of the certain ways that people spell it, or even better, how they pronounce it. I worked for a company and I was doing marketing for a company and special events, and this woman who PhD, doctorate, referred to me as Lazio all the time. And I would correct her. At first, like, yeah, I just want to let you know it's actually Laszlo. Oh, okay, thank you. Say, Lazio, how do I get the I just let it go.
Yeah.
Whatever.
At some point you have to, yeah.
And then you run into the people that go, oh, and they've heard the name, like the first reference is the 80s movie Real Genius with Val Kilmer, the guy who lives in the closet. Or people go old school, it's like, Victor Laszlo from Casablanca. Or every once in a while the name pops up.
Yeah.
And when we were, quick story, when Real Genius came out, I don't know, it was 87, 88,
somewhere around there. I want to say it was like earlier in the 80s. I want to say it was like 83 to 85, but I could be wrong.
Awesome.
Somebody Google it, look it up for us.
Real Genius. And if you haven't seen it,
I'm thinking Weird Science. Never mind.
Oh, the same kind of same time.
Yeah.
But we went with a group of friends, and we were either in high school or just out of high school. We go to the theater, and we had to split up because there weren't enough seats, and some of us were sitting here, and some of us were sitting near the front. And when
1985.
Okay.
January 1st, 1985.
Oh wow. When Val Kilmer was telling the other characters, who's the guy in the closet? He goes, "Oh, that's Laszlo." My friend close to the front row just yells my name loud. Laszlo. Dead silence in the theater for about 2 seconds. Guy behind me goes, "Shut up!" Like, oh, okay. So people will say, "Yeah, I've heard that from." They'll go, "Have you ever seen insert movie with that name?" Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm very familiar. Yeah.
Right. I always get the when I tell people my name, because my last name, it's usually my last name. I'm Nick Sampson. They go, "I want to talk to Sampson." Every time I'm like, "Oh, damn it, half baked, damn it."
Yeah. Or I'll get Lazarus, or anything with a L-A-Z in it or something like that. But I've seen so many fun spellings and just bizarre.
Had I not been friends with you on Facebook for a plethora of years, I would have not known. I would have been like, I'll guess, best guess. I probably wouldn't have put the S in there. But since I see your name so often spelled out, I just knew. And actually, it was your last name I kept getting caught on. Every time I was typing it to promo, I was like, oh, there's 2 E's. Damn it.
Yes, it's like Nemesis without the S.
Yeah. It's a plural. It's Nemesi.
Nemesi, singular.
But not pronounced that way, I guess, right?
No, it's the Hungarian. And I've heard Nemesi, but it's Nemesi. It's the Hungarian pronunciation. So
it's like an SH. Okay.
Yep. Okay. Going old school pronunciation on that, but whatever.
When I introduced you, notice I didn't say the last name because I was like, I didn't want to pronounce it wrong. So I just said Laszlo. I actually was on the fence because I was like, do I even do I just do the first name? Because it's just like I just know you as, like, I know what your last name is, but I like everyone who calls you never calls you by your last name or says your full name. It's just like your share, so throw back to the share comment. Are you pregnant with a puppet? I'm just checking.
Right. Exactly. No. But it's also fun. I can tell when my name is going to be, if I go to a restaurant, they go, "Okay, and the name is," I'll just go, "That's Max." I'll just go with that. But I used to say, "That's Laszlo." And I could always tell when they were going to call my name. They're, "Table for," and I just walk up, "That's me." "Are you sure? Is it Laszlo?" And they go, "I think so." Let me look at, yep, that's me. That's me. I'll save you the headache.
So I'm guessing you don't go to Starbucks very often.
No.
Get your name put on the cup.
No. Come up with something just bizarre. Yeah, I think I did that once, and it was just painful for the barista to. Oh. They just give me the coffee before it gets cold. Okay, it's mine. I guarantee you, it's mine.
Right.
But I should try that again just to see
what you
how they spell it.
Yeah. Make sure you make a video, make a TikTok or something for it. It's just then you can make a bit out of it later. You can use it later as a story.
Right.
Put
I went
in
in
your
for hot
database.
coffee. Went in for a hot coffee, ended up with an iced coffee just because they couldn't pronounce the name.
Right. For sure. Well, Laz, thank you so much for being here and joining me today. It was a pleasure as always. It was great to catch up and just chat about things, right? Just shoot the shit. So
come to a show. Come to a wrestling show. Love to have
I'd love to come to a wrestling show. I always forget, or it's always like, so I do the stuff all week, and then the weekend is my day to do all of the housework and chore work and summer work and spring work and pet work and trips and catch up with people. And it's like, I don't have any spare time to do fun stuff on the weekend. So I'll definitely try. I'm going to keep an eye out for when you post wrestling events, and I'll try to get to a couple. And who knows who I'll see? Maybe I'll see someone else I know. Highly unlikely, and I know for a fact I'll not see anybody who will recognize me. So that'll be the triple win. I can just be an audience member judging silently in the back.
Right, and that's perfectly okay too.
All right, last minute, top of your head to send us off. What's your favorite toast that you've ever heard or seen or given? Or favorite to give? Give us a toast for the road.
My favorite toast.
Yeah, improv on the moment.
Holy cow! Let's see. I'll do the one that I close the show with. It's time to come out from the village, and friends near to us must depart. But we'll see you again down the road and round the bend. Until then, you be close in our heart. Safe home and be kind to each other. God damn it!
Cheers.
Cheers, brother.
Have a good one, guys. Take care and good night.